Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Intelligent Pod. I'm your host, Sophie Lane, and I'm so glad you're joining me for another thought-provoking episode where we dive deep into the ideas shaping our world. Today, we're unraveling a fascinating and increasingly relevant topic: cultural heritage in the digital age, preservation and access. If you've ever wondered what happens to ancient manuscripts, timeless works of art, or even your grandmother's photo albums as the world goes digital, you're in the right place. We'll explore how technology is transforming the way we protect and share our collective history, and why it matters for all of us. Let's start with a simple question. What is cultural heritage? At its core, cultural heritage is the legacy of physical artifacts and intangible attributes we inherit from past generations. This includes everything from ancient architecture, paintings, and literature to music, folklore, languages, and even traditional recipes. It's the tapestry of human experience woven over centuries and millennia. But in the 21st century, with technology evolving at lightning speed, how we interact with and safeguard that tapestry is changing in profound ways. Now, I want you to picture this. The year is 2003, and the world is watching in horror as the National Museum of Iraq is looted during the invasion of Baghdad. Priceless artifacts, some dating back 6,000 years, are lost, destroyed, or stolen. It was a wake-up call for historians, archaeologists, and technologists alike. How can we ensure that our shared human story survives war, disaster, and the steady march of time? This is where the digital revolution steps in. Today, we have the tools to scan, photograph, and virtually reconstruct cultural treasures. In fact, more than 95 million objects have been digitized by cultural institutions worldwide, according to UNESCO. From the Louvre in Paris to community archives in Nairobi, the effort to preserve and democratize access to culture is gaining momentum. But let's break this down a bit. What does digital preservation actually look like? First, there's digitization, the process of converting physical artifacts, manuscripts, and images into digital formats. Think high-resolution photographs of Renaissance paintings, 3D scans of ancient statues, or even entire buildings recreated in virtual reality. This isn't just about backup copies. It's about creating detailed, interactive experiences that can be shared globally. Take, for example, the British Library's Endangered Archives program. Since 2004, they've digitized over 7 million images of rare manuscripts, newspapers, and photographs that might otherwise be lost to history. These are now accessible online, not just to researchers in London, but to anyone, anywhere with an internet connection. Now let's look at another angle, the scientific perspective. Modern technology, such as multispectral imaging, allows us to see beneath the surface of ancient texts, sometimes revealing lost languages or hidden drawings. In 2015, researchers used this technology to read scrolls from Herculaneum, buried in volcanic ash since the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. The scrolls were too fragile to unroll, but digital imaging revealed their secrets without ever touching the delicate papyrus. At the same time, digital preservation isn't just about protecting the past. It's about democratizing access. Historically, cultural treasures were often reserved for a privileged few: scholars, royalty, or those who could travel across continents. Now, schoolchildren in rural India can take a virtual tour of the Smithsonian, and amateur historians in Brazil can zoom in on the Dead Sea Scrolls from their living room. According to a 2022 Pew Research study, 68% of Americans have accessed some form of digital cultural heritage. Whether that's exploring a museum's online collection, listening to oral histories, or browsing historical photographs. But it's not all smooth sailing. The digital age brings new challenges too, and I want to touch on a few different perspectives here. From a psychological standpoint, there's something deeply powerful about standing in front of an ancient artifact or walking through a centuries-old cathedral. What do we lose when culture becomes pixels on a screen? Studies have shown that physical encounters with art and history foster a sense of awe, empathy, and identity that can be hard to replicate digitally. As psychologist Dr. Susan Whitbourne notes, virtual access can enhance learning, but it doesn't always replace the emotional resonance of being present with the real thing. So, while digital tools expand access, they also raise questions about what's irreplaceable. Culturally, there's the issue of ownership and representation. Who gets to decide what is digitized and how it's presented? In 2018, the Maori people of New Zealand partnered with Google to digitize and protect their language, sharing their stories on their own terms. But not all communities have that agency. Sometimes, digital archives can perpetuate colonial biases, misrepresent artifacts, or exclude voices that deserve to be heard. As we digitize the world's heritage, ethical considerations must be front and center. Let me share a real-life anecdote that brings these complexities to life. In 2015, a group of Syrian refugees in Berlin launched the Syrian Archive, a digital project to document and preserve photos, videos, and stories from their homeland. Their goal was to ensure that even as physical monuments and memories were destroyed by war, the cultural identity of Syria would not disappear. This project not only preserves the past, but empowers displaced people to reclaim their narrative, a powerful reminder that digital heritage is, at its heart, about people. So what does all this mean for you and me? How can we be part of safeguarding and celebrating cultural heritage in the digital age? Let's talk about some actionable steps you can take. 1. Explore and share. Visit digital archives and museums online. Take a virtual tour, listen to oral histories, or explore digitized manuscripts. Share what you find with friends and family. Sparking curiosity is the first step to preservation. 2. Support community projects. Look for grassroots initiatives that digitize local history. Many libraries, schools, and nonprofits welcome volunteers to help scan photos, conduct interviews, or build digital exhibits. You don't have to be a tech expert, just willing to learn and connect. 3. Advocate for access. Not everyone has equal access to digital resources. Support policies that promote digital inclusion, whether it's funding for rural broadband or open access archives. The more people can participate, the richer our shared heritage becomes. 4. Think critically. When you encounter cultural content online, consider who created it, whose voices are included, and what might be missing. Seek out perspectives from underrepresented communities and be aware of digital biases. 5. Preserve your own story. Your family's photographs, recipes, and traditions are part of cultural heritage too. Scan old photos, record stories from elders, and consider donating digital copies to local archives or museums. As we wrap up, let's step back and reflect on the big picture. Cultural heritage isn't just about ancient artifacts or famous paintings. It's about the stories, memories, and ideas that connect us across time and space. In the digital age, we have unprecedented power to preserve and share those connections. But with that power comes responsibility to be ethical stewards, curious learners, and champions of diversity. So the next time you scroll through a digital museum, listen to a folk song on YouTube, or scan an old family photo, remember, you're part of a global community, weaving the next chapter of our collective story. Thank you for joining me on this journey through cultural heritage in the digital age. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review. It really helps new listeners discover the show. You can find detailed show notes and links to everything we discussed at intelligentpod.com. And I would absolutely love to hear your questions, thoughts, or personal stories about digital preservation. Just email me at sophie@intelligentpod.com. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep connecting. I'm Sophie Lane, and this is Intelligent Pod. Take care.